been listening to you for a couple months now. I've discovered you through, like everyone else, I'm sure, the rabbit hole of the internet through Muji and Gangaji and Eckhart Tolle and Rupert Spira and all those
Nice.
people. So
Yeah.
they led me to you, and
Yeah.
I'm in love. But you're amazing and have been really challenging. So when I when I just press the buttons, I want to talk to you. Then my heart starts pounding. I'm very nervous, but you're just a voice out. You're just my dream. And it's if I could just sort of relax into that, because it's a beautiful dream, and it's been like this amazing journey in the last few years of discovering this, and I've just it's just so beautiful, and I'm a therapist out here in California, and I'm just seeing. I had a couple things I wanted to touch on with you and get your response to, but I have seen this kind of evolution in the psychological, or in the realm of psychology, developing towards and evolving towards more of this presence and mindfulness. Coming into, in fact, my buddy who just sent me an article on the evolution of psychology just texted me, "I hear you, I'm talking to Lisa." But this article talked about how we started with psychodynamic theory, with Freudian theory, and really getting in touch with how all our problems are within, the relationship with our parents, and all those psychic wounds from our childhood, and how we have to get in touch with those to really become whole. And then it evolved through kind of this cognitive behavioral theory of, no, it's all about our thoughts and our thinking that, can disrupt our sense of ourself, and it's our thoughts that cause us damage, and we have to control our thoughts. And now I see this kind of movement towards a lot of what you're talking about. Our thoughts, we really don't control. They just come out of space. Just like our heart beating, we don't control our heart beating. We don't control our thoughts arising, and yet we think that we do, and that's a lie. And now I see this beautiful movement in psychology towards we'll call it mindfulness. I think that's just a fancy word for presence or beingness. And so I find that this whole evolution of what's going on psychologically, because I think the psychological profession has done a lot of damage in people's lives, and me being part of it, admitting that too, but that just coming to this place of it doesn't matter. It's just being present. And I wish that I had found this. I just turned 63 yesterday.
Your voice sounds so young.
Oh,
you know how like voices have different tones, and your voice sounds very young.
Oh, thank you. But I wish I had found this earlier, and that I could have helped people with this, because I feel like I did a lot of damage too. And I know it all doesn't matter really, but because it's all it all leads us.
But I think psychology has like a beautiful path, like all of that. So I think that it's also really helpful, because like with the psychology, so the way that I see psychology, and maybe this is like a really like incorrect way of seeing psychology, is I see a lot of psychology as reconditioning the body-mind mechanisms. And I feel like if you don't, I feel like you can get stuck in that. So you can get stuck in loops of that, and that is unhealthy. But I think to an extent it can be really helpful, because if you've grown up like in a really abusive family, normally what will go on and happen, which I'm sure you've seen loads of time, is you'll just act out those family patterns again and again. You'll be attracted to your father or your mother, and you'll act out these types of things. And in psychology, having that pointed out to you repetitively, I think can be helpful for the flow of life. But it's illusory that it's them that's doing that, and that you're doing it, and that it will lead to freedom. It will
Right.
improve the life circumstances. So it might stop somebody going to repetitively to an abusive partner, and that's very difficult life. So it might stop that. And the way that it stops it is you're reconditioning the body mind mechanism. But it's not really you doing it or them doing it. It's just that if our bodies keep putting if we keep putting our hand in the fire, then eventually we stop putting the hand in the fire because it hurts. And if a therapist keeps pointing out to you that these relationships are going to be painful, that will eventually be taken on by the body, but there's not actually somebody in the body that does it. It just
Mm-hmm.
reconditions the story. So I think it's really, psychology to an extent is really helpful. Cognitive behavior, I think, is really helpful to an extent, like putting practice in, like not going into the thoughts and all of it. But I
Mm-hmm.
see all of it as a description of something that can happen and not a prescription. So I can
Yeah.
tell you certain information, you can tell your client certain information, and whether or not that reconditions the body or changes the body's behavior is totally dependent on life. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
you must have experienced it with people that some people change rapidly with therapy and some people just don't change at all. So it's really like God's will as to whether people adopt to it or not, and some people are maybe in the middle. But if you believe that happiness will be found at the end of psychology, then in a way that is a suffering loop. That is an
Right.
unhealthy loop that's very mental, because who is this person and where are they going to arrive to? Like, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
great you recondition your body and you have this amazing life, that's still, you're still going to feel separate, and that will
Mm-hmm.
still be suffering. So it's never going to work in the end, psychology. But I think it's helpful to an extent, like if you have a broken leg, going and having your leg repaired, but it won't lead you to freedom. The freedom really is this recognition that who you are is this moment. So
Mm-hmm.
this emptiness, this empty looking, and this sense of being, and that's
Yeah.
really what everyone's searching for.
It's kind of like putting a cast on a broken bone. If you leave it on too long, the
Yeah,
bone withers,
yeah,
and dies. And
yeah,
so I feel like it's the same thing. And same thing with religion. That's another avenue that I went through, I think, seeking freedom
yeah,
and looking back on how I was very involved in Christianity and how that
yeah,
just very much promoted this sort of personal relationship with God, and it was all personal. It was all,
yeah,
having a personal experience and a personal God, and it really sort of highlighted and accentuated this separateness. And that's, I
yeah,
think, a lot of problem with religion, where religion has gone astray, is that it has,
yeah,
promoted this sort of my our way of thinking, and this individualized this
yeah,
so I find it really fascinating that I went through psychology, and studying and really becoming involved in my own therapy and all of that to find, seeking freedom. And then the religious piece of this is seeking the freedom, through this personal relationship with God, and finding
yeah,
that all those things were like a cast. It didn't. It may have helped, and I'm not trying to discredit anybody who
yeah,
believes in this, or goes to therapy. I'm a therapist myself. Like I said, I need your money, so I need to, I need my business. But or religion. People have
yeah.
found peace and hope in religion, but it's not the answer. And
It's a
I've just
cast, and that's such a good way to put it. It's a cast. Like it can be really helpful. Like I can imagine, if somebody's like lost their whole family in a terrible accident and they're totally alone, like I can imagine religion could really help somebody not go
yes,
under and kill themselves in that
yeah, it helped
situation.
me. It was a really difficult time in my life.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So I don't want to discredit it, but it falls short. It's
yeah,
not it's not
yeah.
freedom. It's
No,
not the ultimate
yeah,
freedom.
no,
And I just am so
yeah,
grateful that and you're
yeah,
part of my journey, and and I know you're just part of the dream, but it's just a beautiful dream. And oh, one
yeah,
one last thing I want to add. I wanted to thank you about the analogy I heard recently. A couple years ago went through a really hard breakup, and was still doing a lot of blaming, and just not really getting, I mean, letting go of it, but then sort of feeling like there was still a piece in there that I was holding on to. And I heard one of your talks, and you talked about those people, we're just like actors on the stage. And it just clicked for me, like
Oh, nice.
the other person I was with, we were just acting out the
Yeah.
roles that we were given, the script
Yeah.
that we were given. And then how could I be angry with that person
Yeah.
when we step off stage, backstage,
Yeah.
and we put our script books down and we
Yeah.
take off our costumes? That's just another
Yeah.
actor playing
Yeah.
their role. And that was so healing for me when I
Yeah.
heard that. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just gonna,
that's
that's all I wanted to say. But
yeah.
I think that was so healing for me. And I heard
Yeah.
Dennis talking about relationships, but that was so helpful. I
Yeah.
just wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, and really, like, neither of you could have been any other way in that scenario. It doesn't mean that
Right.
after, like, the event you can't reflect on it to see, okay, I did this again, and from reflecting on it, maybe next
Right.
time the body will move in a slightly different direction and won't repeat itself again. But in a way, we're so heavily conditioned by everything that's come before, like everything that that you're acting out is predetermined. Like it's from everything, like not just your life but every other life that's come before, and whatever you two, and the same for the other person, act out in a way is this perfect dance that couldn't be any other way, and there's no blame on either person.
Right. So
It's
freeing.
yeah, it's nobody's fault. Like there's no one that's more the baddie and less the baddie. It's just life happening. There might be somebody that's acted more inappropriately than the other person. Like somebody maybe like cheated and did all these quite harsh things. But in the end, it couldn't have been any other way, and they couldn't have picked to do anything differently.
Yes.
There's no option for them to do that. It doesn't mean that you don't walk away, that you don't tell them that you've been inappropriate, that you don't reflect on that on the human level. All of these things are healthy things to do, but it won't. There is no freedom in allocating blame, in going over the situation again and again and again, or having it back, or it being different. The freedom is always in the experience. And life is so much more intelligent than what we are. It knows what it's doing, and we just have to accept our roles. It's like total surrender to what our roles are.
I love it.
Yeah, total surrender. And it's really not about being perfect, like talking about psychology. Like I really don't have perfect psychology. Like I noticed myself acting out something passive aggressive today. I don't normally do that. And I really saw it. Like I was quite surprised that I did that. Like I poked another person, they'd been a bit inappropriate, and I poked them back, and I was really like, oh, hello. And it's really we can't. We have to be what we are, and if that's what we're going to be, passive aggressive, that's what we're going to be in that moment. It's that isn't the end goal. That is part to do. Like Khaleesi, is my dog, is so inappropriate. I live with my I'm staying with my mum at the moment, and she's got a dog, and the other dog's smaller than Khaleesi, and Khaleesi could be such a bully to the other dog, like, nope, this is my food, this is my bed, go away, mine. And it's like it's like her conditioning, like it's the way that she is, like that she's conditioned to claim things as her and to be the most greediest and have most food. And it's totally surrendering to our animal likeness as well. It doesn't mean that in the attitude there can't be an attitude to improving. So my attitude, when I noticed that I did that, I apologized for doing it shortly afterwards, and then I look at it and I realize that I did it, and that most probably will recondition it, but it might not. It's not my choice.
Right. Aren't dogs just the best teachers on how to be present? My dog is just amazing. I've had her 12 years, and I just am so grateful every day for the lessons about just being. It's just wonderful.
And just being their self.
Just being their self, without any self-awareness. They don't. They have no. I just love the lessons dogs bring us. So anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Nora. That was really beautiful.
Joy talking to you. All right. Take care. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Nice, guys. I went over quite a lot today. That's enough for today. Miss Chatterbox Lisa. Thank you, everybody that called in and spoke and was vulnerable and honest and open. I so enjoy speaking with you about this subject. Yes. And I send you lots of love. Goodbye. Goodbye.